What happens at that moment with the soul? What convulsions is it driven to? It's an outrage on the soul, and nothing more. It said, "Do not kill." So he killed, and then they kill him? No, that's impossible. I saw it a month ago, and it's as if it were still there before my eyes. I've dreamed about it 5 times. The prince even grew animated as he spoke, a slight flush came to his pale face, though his speech was as quiet as before. The valet watched him with sympathetic interest and seemed unwilling to tear himself away. Perhaps he, too, was a man with imagination and an inclination to thinking. It's a good thing there's not much suffering, he observed, when the head flies off. You know what? The prince picked up hotly. You've just observed that, and everybody makes the same observation as you, and this machine, the guillotine, was invented for that. But a thought occurred to me then, what if it's even worse? To you it seems ridiculous, to you it seems wild, but with some imagination even a thought like that can pop into your head. Think, if there's torture, for instance, then there's suffering, wounds, bodily pain, and it means that all that distracts you from inner torment, so that you only suffer from the wounds until you die. And yet the chief, the strongest pain may not be in the wounds, but in knowing for certain that in an hour, then in 10 minutes, then in half a minute, then now, this second, your soul will fly out of your body and you'll no longer be a man, and it's for certain, the main thing is that it's for certain. When you put your head under that knife and hear it come screeching down on you, that 1/4 of a second is the most horrible of all. Do you know that this isn't my fantasy, but that many people have said so? I believe it so much that I'll tell you my opinion outright. To kill for killing is an immeasurably greater punishment than the crime itself. To be killed by legal sentence is immeasurably more terrible than to be killed by robbers. A man killed by robbers, stabbed at night, in the forest or however, certainly still hopes he'll be saved till the very last minute. There have been examples when a man's throat has already been cut, and he still hopes, or flees, or pleads. But here all this last hope, which makes it 10 times easier to die, is taken away for certain. Here there's the sentence, and the whole torment lies in the certainty that there's no escape, and there's no greater torment in the world than that. Take a soldier, put him right in front of a cannon during a battle, and shoot at him, and he'll still keep hoping, but read that same soldier a sentence for certain, and he'll lose his mind or start weeping. Whoever said human nature could bear it without going mad? Why such an ugly, vain, unnecessary violation? Maybe there's a man who has had the sentence read to him, has been allowed to suffer, and has then been told, "Go, you're forgiven." That man might be able to tell us something. Christ spoke of this suffering and horror. No, you can't treat a man like that. The valet, though of course he could not have expressed it all like the prince, nevertheless understood, if not all, at least the main thing, as could be seen by his softened expression. If you have such a wish to smoke, he said, it might be possible, if you do it quickly. Because he may ask for you suddenly, and you won't be here. There, under the stairway, you see, there's a door. As you go through the door, there's a little room to the right, you can smoke there, only open the vent window, because it's against the rules. But the prince had no time to go and smoke. A young man suddenly came into the anteroom with papers in his hands. The valet began to help him out of his fur coat. The young man cocked an eye at the prince. Gavrila Ardalionich, the valet began confidentially and almost familiarly, this gentleman here presents himself as Prince Mishkin and the lady's relation, come by train from abroad with a bundle in his hands, only. The prince did not hear the rest, because the valet started whispering. Gavrila Ardalionovich listened attentively and kept glancing at the prince with great curiosity. Finally he stopped listening and approached him impatiently. You are Prince Mishkin? He asked extremely amiably and politely. He was a very handsome young man, also of about 28, a trim blonde, of above average height, with a small imperial, and an intelligent and very handsome face. Only his smile, for all its amiability, was somewhat too subtle, it revealed his somewhat too pearly and even teeth, his gaze, for all its cheerfulness and ostensible simple-heartedness, was somewhat too intent and searching. When he's alone he probably doesn't look that way, and maybe never laughs, the prince somehow felt. The prince explained all he could, hurriedly, almost in the same way as he had explained to the valet earlier, and to Rogojin earlier still. Gavrila Ardalionovich meanwhile seemed to be recalling something. "Was it you," he asked, "who sent a letter to Elizaveta Prokofyevna about a year ago, from Switzerland, I believe?" "Exactly so. In that case they know you here and certainly remember. You wish to see His Excellency? I'll announce you presently, he'll be free presently." "Only you must kindly wait in the reception room. Why is the gentleman here?" he sternly addressed the valet. "I tell you, he didn't want to." At that moment the door of the office suddenly opened and some military man with a portfolio in his hand came through it, speaking loudly and bowing his way out. "Are you there, Ganya?" a voice called from the office. "Come in, please." Gavrila Ardalionovich nodded to the prince and hastily went into the office. About 2 minutes later the door opened again and the affable voice of Gavrila Ardalionovich rang out. "Please come in, Prince." 3.